Hello there. Control your insolence and concentrate. It's time for Most Things Kenobi.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Most Things Kenobi, a podcast about Obi-Wan Kenobi and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, Leanne.
And I'm your host, Lauren.
This episode, we are revisiting, well, officially visiting, because we've talked about it in so many different ways, but not in totality. And that would be the Geonosian arc in the Clone Wars, which is just one of our favorites. And we needed some Clone Wars time. So here we are.
And honestly, rewatching Landing at Point Rain was so wonderful.
It was like going home.
Yes,
I was
it was
so happy to rewatch it and like just live for everything in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's so familiar and terrible.
I know.
like some of the that happens is really bad.
I know. And some of it, like, I've always kind of cringed at it now, but now that I think of it, it was like, oh.
The older that I get, the more obvious it becomes how freaking young they are. Like, you know, just bombing entire civilizations. I get it. It's a war factory. Whatever. Galaxies at war. But Ahsoka is so young.
I know. She's in her little tube top, and Anakin's got his short, flippy hair. And
yeah. You can tell he's a child because... I shouldn't say child. You can tell he's a young adult because of where he ends up in Clone Wars and how Matt Lanter carries the character from the playfulness and the lack of seriousness. Like, Anakin's serious in this. Mm-hmm. But his motivations are still like, I have to please the Jedi Council. I have to please Obi-Wan. I have to show that I can do this. Like, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You know?
And he still wants to be the best.
Yeah.
That's so important to him. Even though it's playful,
so
it's
important.
Like it's like the beginnings of how it's gonna not be playful anymore in the future. It's gonna
very
be
much
a serious problem. Yeah.
And what's really sad, and so I'm like rewatching this probably for the first time, I think, since the Kenobi series. And it's
me too, probably.
Mm-hmm. It kind of hit me like just how good he would have been if it hadn't gone the way it did. It just, I mean, there's a lot of like bad juju there with the slavery upbringing, and he was too old coming into the Jedi Order, etc., etc. Things about Anakin, right? The title of his
Things about Anakin.
Yeah, Things About Anakin, a handbook. But like, he could have been really, really good. He could have been really good.
Yeah, I know these early Clone Wars episodes have so much of his good characteristics. Although the episode right before this is that Rush Clovis episode with him and Padme.
Which I love. We need to do that one too, because
we need to do some like, one-offs of the episodes.
Yes, because we can deep dive on that on all kinds of levels. But anywho,
yes, yeah. It was what really struck me this time, because I actually just finished re-listening to this podcast about D-Day. I listened to it last year because it was the 80th anniversary?
Oh, yeah, it was. That was a recent one. Yeah.
Yeah. So this year in June was 81 years since the landing at D-Day. So I re-listened to the podcast because it was really excellent, and it's a very good podcast. And it really hit me how much they're pulling from D-Day in particular, but probably any invasion, but particularly D-Day for this episode in particular. It's kind of crazy, and it's not an accident. I mean, George Lucas has said he was inspired by like Battle of Britain, the movie, and definitely Band of Brothers. And I checked, Band of Brothers did come out before this episode. There's like a lot of cinematography that's the same there, so it's cool. It was
You
like the
know,
first time all that stuff looked really intense in Clone Wars. Before that, it was
yeah,
like kind of fun, and this
yeah.
time is the first time you feel like, oh, the Jedi might die.
Yeah, it's what brought me right back into the episode was just how beautiful the imagery is of them
Mm,
coming in with the gunships. And who doesn't, okay, in the Star Wars fandom, who doesn't love the sounds of Star Wars? Like the
yes.
mew, mew,
Yeah.
mew, the laser
Uh-huh.
fights and the lightsaber sounds and the gunship blasts and like Star
Yeah.
Wars sounds. And it like brought me right back in. I was like, I remember why I like this series so much, because it's all those things, comforting things, just the
It
sounds of war. But I don't mean it to sound like that, but the Star
yeah.
Wars sounds.
I mean, it's Star Wars.
Yeah, correct.
We
Yes,
seem to forget that part of
we
it.
do. Yes,
So yes, war is a big part of the Star Wars story. So yes, it's true, and it's so iconic. You
it
know,
really is. It is, and
it's
this landing
yeah.
at Point Rain episode especially, because it never was more obvious after having not watched it for a while, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
that the whole episode is about them just trying to get on the ground.
Yeah,
Like it's not it's a f***ing mess.
it's
It's a mess.
crazy. Yeah, and there was something again that like the D-Day tie-in to me because it, I was listening to the stories of the paratroopers who went in before the like water landing, and they get dropped behind enemy lines. Some of them landed in gliders, so you can't even control it. You just get launched out of a plane and just
Jeez.
glide to the ground and hope you don't hit a light pole.
Oh
And
god.
so they had to just survive the landing, which was
That's
really
it.
difficult. And then some of them had to immediately start fighting, which is what Anakin has to do. So it's like,
Right.
not only do you have to survive flying through the flak, then you have to start fighting right away, and it doesn't stop until they have that one little break near the end.
Yeah.
That's so much. I get tired after one long day of work.
This is true.
Imagine what would happen to your nervous system having to live through something like that over and
Just
over.
the amount of adrenaline that is probably coursing through you at all times. The come down has to be hard. I don't know.
Yeah,
Mad
yeah,
respect to anybody who's ever had to do it.
yeah. It's intense. It's crazy, but it's very actually the whole episode is pretty intense. And there was a sequence that I had never really like actively put it together because when we watch these to analyze, I kind of like look more specifically at stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a moment probably halfway through. Ki-Adi-Mundi is in his cave with all the
Yes.
scary bugs. Anakin's
Yes.
on the wall, fighting the droids, and Obi-Wan is literally surrounded and they're being closed in on. And they show one after another, and it's like, oh,
Right.
they're all gonna die. Like they imply it that they're all just completely overwhelmed and
Yeah.
they might not survive. And I'm pretty sure they went to a commercial break when this was on TV back in 2009 or whatever it was.
That's so very reminiscent, isn't it? Like commercial breaks? Like what
I
are
know.
I mean, I guess there's still commercial breaks in streaming services, but
Yeah.
I mean,
This was
the
on
old-fashioned-
Cartoon Network? Was that right? Or was it
I
like
don't
Nickelodeon?
remember.
I watched it on Netflix, so I never saw it in its original.
Was it Cartoon Network?
I
What
want to
was
say
it?
yes.
Oh my god, whatever.
It was a long time ago. It was many,
I
many
still
moons ago.
remember walking up to my old like hometown theater and seeing the Clone Wars poster and thinking, cartoons, get out of here.
Me
Like,
too.
I know
Yes.
you and I have talked about this, but like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I was such a hater.
I saw it at a shopping mall and I was like, are you kidding me?
Exactly. I was like, get out of here with this. You must, Star Wars really hit rock bottom. Nope.
Yeah, little
Nope.
little did we know it was the greatest thing they're ever gonna produce.
Yeah, and we literally were begging for more. Save Clone Wars. And I lost my voice for like 4 years straight after it was announced at Comic-Con. And we were there. That shit was nuts.
You
Permanently. You know my wheezy laugh that everybody has to comment on? It's because of the Clone Wars panel at Comic-Con 2018.
It paralyzed one of your vocal cords permanently, I'm sure.
Anyway.
I love like the way they set it up at the beginning. Obi-Wan's like, God, can't believe we have to come back here. And then he talks to Cody about being chained to a pole and being attacked by humongous monsters the first time.
Yeah, it must have been entertaining for the Geonosians. Oh, Obi-Wan.
It's about to get worse. Apparently, Geonosians, or going to Geonosia is like the equivalent of Obi-Wan's hell. He just, every time he goes, he's got terrible things that happen.
Always. And at least in this respect, Anakin was a little more well-behaved and under some sort of discipline, of self-discipline to...
Yeah, because Padme wasn't there.
Yeah, I know. I was actually thinking about this the whole time that I was watching this because of what you just said, how they set up the timeline, that this is obviously after Attack of the Clones. And Obi-Wan's been there, Anakin's been there, and I was just thinking, like, Padme. Like...
Yeah. Did I say Revenge of the Sith earlier? Because I definitely meant Attack of the Clones. If that's what I
don't
said.
know. I don't know what you meant. I don't know what you said because I have a headache.
Perimenopause. I can't remember.
Yeah. Perry? Who's she? I will say that Obi-Wan is, once again, for an animation, utterly breathtaking. I know you won't disagree.
No, I will not disagree. I will stand on this hill and die on this hill.
I will.
Defending it because
our favorite scene of Clone Wars...
It still holds up.
It does. It really does. It does not age. It does not ever get old. It's so nice to see. And the few like breaths that he takes and then fires up that lightsaber. Man! It's so good. The details.
It hit me a lot more this time too, how they kind of cut from Anakin and Ahsoka kind of like still bantering and being kind of funny to Obi-Wan's like literally about to die.
Yeah, he's like, okay, this is it. My final stand. I will do this. Yeah. I will fight with these men, which I really do love all of the clone interaction. And I never really noticed in detail before the desert uniform, if you will. Yeah. And like a camouflage almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that too.
That's a nice touch. They had the helmets that are akin to Scarif, like the Scarif helmets. I think I'm thinking of this correct. They're kind of square and more boxy than the oval shaped clones or the bell shaped clone helmets. I don't know. Maybe we should do an episode on Stormtrooper and clone attire and like what the different, because there's like the Hoth.
There's so many troopers now. My God.
Yeah. So like that would be cool. But like for some reason I didn't really appreciate it, or maybe I just took the time because I was really trying to look for things that. It's so easy to watch this episode and just fall in to.
Yeah.
Because it's so familiar.
It's an old favorite, and I find myself having to like rewind it and be like, "Wait, I gotta pay attention. Hold on."
You know what I did notice for the first time, and I had to look it up. Get ready for a meteorology lesson, because here we go. So you know how the gunships are coming in, and they're trying to land.
Yes.
And they're like, get the ships on the ground now. And then they radio and say, no, don't land. It's a hot zone, Obi-Wan. Okay. So they're like flying around, and there's like a series of 3 or 4 gunships that kind of go out in front, and they're in formation. And they have the little like contrails that come off their wingtips. I'm sure people have seen this on airplanes when there's condensation that comes off the tips of the wings. Sometimes when you take off or when you land. So it's not technically physically correct. It's a cool It's a cool animation effect. And that's why I saw it and I'm like, actually, this doesn't make sense. So they're in a dry desert climate, like red rocks, dust, not sand dunes, but like, obviously, I don't see a whole lot of water present.
Yeah, no plants. Yeah, it's arid.
No, nothing, right? So we'll assume an arid climate. In order for that air to condense enough to make an aerodynamic contrail, such as those that we see coming off the wingtips, you have to have some moisture in order for the moisture to condense to form into those little trailing like tubes that come off it's not.
It just looks good. It's just not
it
real.
Looks cool. And that's why I noticed it, because I'm like, oh, look at that. They have the aerodynamic contrails. Oh, wait.
Is it possible that like the ship was freezing cold and that could have created it? Or
maybe. But it would have been so short-lived, and then it wouldn't have made sense to make it even in an animation. So I'll just give them the credit for adding it because it's visually cool, but I'm just here to tell you that it's kind of not right.
I love that though. Like that's I love the science.
It looks great though.
Yeah, that's great.
It's cool if you ever see an airplane take off and you see those aerodynamic, like the tiny little contrails that come off the winglets. But
yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's funny because I actually watched like a scene from Battle of Britain to see like, does it look like this? And again, actually, very impressive for the time period.
Oh, I bet.
I was really impressed. They had real planes flying in sequences. But again, they can't show them crash. So they do like what the Blue Angels do or the Thunderbirds do, where when it gets shot, like they release a gas out.
Yeah.
It looks like it's been hit and it's not real.
Yeah.
But again, like the planes weren't sending off those contrails unless it's like created, because they were probably even temperature.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to. That's why it usually happens at takeoff and landing, is because there's a change in pressure, like a dramatic change in pressure and temperature and all that stuff. So whatever, but
so interesting.
It still looks cool. I had to look it up though. I'm like, is it possible in an arid climate? Is it possible? I'm like, I don't think it is. And then it was like, it's very rare to almost never that it happens. Like, you know,
so here it happened on every single ship. So
every ship, every time for a very long time. But it's cool. It's visually awesome, and I'm not here to shit on it.
No, I love that you bring that, like the science to it. That's great. It's really fascinating.
I mean, I don't know, just a little thing I noticed. But you know, aside from Anakin's brazenness and Obi-Wan's beautifulness and Ahsoka's tube top, there's also science.
Well, I have to say, like, this episode, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, it changed how I felt about Obi-Wan.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I didn't quite like him from the original trilogy was fine. Like the prequels didn't really do much for me when they came out when I was a kid.
Sure,
And I felt like in season 1, he's kind of just like, oh, Anakin, like the whole time, and didn't really do much until like.
Well, I mean, that's what the prequels kind of set him up for. But then
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then here, it was like, I think part of it is when his ship goes down. Because, of course, part of it is like when he lights the lightsaber at the end and he's like ready to die with everybody. That's f***ing awesome. But a huge part of it is when he screams, brace yourselves.
Yeah.
And I went through the sequence again and like analyzed it cinematography wise, because every time I watch it, it like gets me kind of anxious because of the way it's filmed, you know?
Yeah.
Cody says don't land and he's like, there's nowhere else to go. Then they
there really isn't.
Yeah, like what is he gonna do? Turn around and go back? Yeah.
U-turn.
It's happening. There's no stopping it now. And then they show the enemy about to fire on them. Their engine bursts into flames, and then he's like, we're going down. But when he says brace yourselves, they do this. They're in like a medium close-up around his shoulders, and they zoom in, and it's basically his nose and eyes.
Yeah.
And they've never implied that Obi-Wan gets ruffled, right? Like, not to this point.
That's true. Right,
at least.
that's correct.
Except when he was fighting Maul in the prequels. Yes, okay. But in the show, Clone Wars, he's very even. He was always the same. He didn't have too much depth. He was kind of sassy and entertaining, but this was the first time where, like, the cinematography even implied that he was, like, overwhelmed. That it was, oh god, this is kind of beyond my control moment.
Yeah.
And that's, like, a big deal for a Jedi. And then the way they show his crash, like, I didn't really, like, actively put it together. All 3 Jedi Masters, well, Anakin's not a master, sorry, but sorry, he's the leader. All 3 generals
There you go.
crash. Like, they all crash land.
They do. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Obi-Wan's is the one that they show as though he might have died. And
right, because, yeah. Well, there's the thing of like, where's Obi-Wan? How, has he radioed in? And then Anakin and Ahsoka have that moment where, like, Ahsoka's visibly shook.
Yeah.
And Anakin, I think, but has to play the part. Like, he doesn't want to talk about it. He's, like, not available emotionally to talk about that. We have to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
So it's assumed that something really bad happened. Maybe.
Here's my question to you.
Oh no, what?
Is Anakin matured from the first time he was on Geonosia? I can't say that planet's name. On the desert planet. Because, like, if it was Padme, he would have freaked out and not been able to focus. So did he mature because of what happened last time? Or does he just not have that kind of devotion to Obi-Wan that he does to Padme? Obviously, it's not a romantic relationship. You know what I mean, though? Like,
well, the impression I got, and I thought about this while I was watching it, because, you know, you've seen it 1,000 times, but you're forcing yourself to think about things because you're going to talk about it on a podcast. Right. But the implication I got is that Anakin can't handle loss, and he wasn't about to handle it right there. And so he went into, like, father / big brother / master to his Padawan. I know you're shooken up about this, but we have to push on or something. But that was him telling himself that, in my opinion. Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Would he have stopped the battle to go tend to Padme? I hesitate because they were so overwhelmed, but he damn near stopped it for the Blue Shadow virus, and he damn near stopped it for the like XYZ moments. But this was a completely different situation where it was like a mission had an A point and a B point, and it hinged on basically Anakin getting to this point. And the whole thing was so bad. So I don't know that he would have, but I do think when he was talking to Ahsoka, he was literally telling himself that via Ahsoka. That's the impression I get.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think? Like, is there... I could maybe see it, but...
I think so, too. I think he was probably thinking more of... Like, if it was Padme, I don't know if he would have been so reassuring to Ahsoka. He probably would have been freaking out way more himself.
Like, Ahsoka would have reversed the role with him. And she would have been comforting to him, like, don't worry, she'll be fine. She can take care of herself. I see Ahsoka being that for Anakin.
This 12-year-old grounding this adult who's losing his shit.
You have to think about how far Ahsoka has come from this moment. Like, this little snippy Padawan to this cool, calm, collected warrior who's seen some
Yeah.
Half of it is because she had to console her own teacher.
It's true. It's really true. There are so many moments, even in early episodes of Clone Wars, where she's like, hey, pay attention to me. I'm trying to tell you something important.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I do laugh every time, though, when she's like, well, this is another fine mess you've gotten us into. And Rex is standing right there like, are we really going to fight right now? Like,
I know.
Good Lord.
Poor poor Rex is the monkey in the middle every single time for these two petulant young adult teens, tweens, whatever they are.
Oh my god, it's
How,
so
how old
true.
is Anakin at this point? Like 19?
I
Where
don't
are we at with him?
know. I would guess. Honestly, I don't even know what his age is in Revenge of the Sith. So
I thought he was 22. Let me look it up.
God, really? Holy shit, that he is a child.
Anakin is 22 years old in Revenge of the Sith. So he's about 19, 20 in this episode.
Good God.
How did I remember that?
I don't know.
I stalk him.
Again, so inappropriate. These people are so young.
Well, I mean, it's that's the Jedi way, isn't it? I mean, they're teaching them how to fight when they're like 10-year-olds.
It's true. It's very bizarre.
I mean, remember the Acolyte? How young
Yes.
they were?
That's funny. You were reading my mind. I was literally just glazed over
really?
thinking about Acolyte. Yeah, and how young they were.
Space twins. Oh, by the way, speaking of Acolyte, it made me think of Yoda. You know how they're huddled at the beginning and all the holograms are there, and Yoda's like kind of elevated to be eye level with the others, so he must be standing on like a platform or something. I never noticed that before.
His little hover platform that he travels around the temple in because he can't keep up with people walking.
I love it so much, though.
Oh my god. Ki-Adi-Mundi is such a wet blanket.
Do you know who he reminded me of in this episode, and I've never thought of it before?
Who?
Colonel Sanders.
Not who I thought you were gonna say.
Who are you?
I had no expectation except not Colonel Sanders.
Oh, okay. Well, the KFC king himself. If he'd have just had the little bolo tie or whatever he's got, the little bow tie.
Yeah.
He'd look like
God.
Colonel Sanders. You know, with 17
Colonel
forehead.
Sanders' forehead, was like 15 feet tall.
He is a wet blanket, though. He's a wet paper towel. I won't even give him substance. So it's a blanket.
He's not got the substance of a blanket. Yeah,
but I mean,
always when every time I watch this, and Yularen,
there is no such thing as luck. Like,
Good
shut
luck.
up. No one asked you.
Thing to say. You don't have to be such a prick.
It's kind of like a boomer statement, though. He's kind of a boomer. Like Obi-Wan is the what do I want to say? Like the more polished, middle-aged man.
I was gonna say he's us.
Yeah, a little bit jaded, a little bit polished, a little bit
kind of a millennial, where he's like
a little bit.
Sometimes you're like, wow, he's really cool, and other times you're like, he's a little bit old.
Yeah. Well stated.
I relate.
I relate as well. You know, so I mean, comparing the two adults, if you will.
Mm, yeah.
But then there's also my favorite.
I was gonna say,
what's her name?
Gentlemen,
if we could get on with the show.
Luminara.
You know, she's Luminara, yeah. I can't even remember her name. Like, nothing against the voice actress, but literally nothing against anything. Her and Barris rubbed me the wrong, which is the next episode. We'll get there, but
yeah,
you know.
But I like how she has to interrupt like the contest that's going on. It's like,
totally.
Gentlemen, can we just focus up here?
It did look like old Palpatine was smiling to himself, kind of chuckling, wasn't he? He was kind of amused by the whole thing, because this is all just his big ruse. This is all his, gentlemen, should we be sending 3 Jedi? That's your plan.
No.
Don't act.
Academy Award winning actor of the year here.
Totally.
He's always performing, no matter what.
I'm actually surprised he didn't find a reason to send Padme to piss Obi-Wan off, to set Anakin on some sort of path. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's done it before. He'll do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. God. Yeah, there was some stuff in here that I've forgotten how gruesome.
Ooh, like what? Yeah. Oh yeah. Like the bugs getting set on fire?
Yes. Exactly.
That's what you do to a hive.
Well, and I was just, the other thing about this is usually in Clone Wars, they're fighting droids. This is one of the few times they're fighting living beings.
Yeah.
And keeping score like it's a game. And that, I was like, at the end, when Anakin says 55, Ahsoka says 60, and Ki-Adi-Mundi is 65, and Obi-Wan is like, I'll never understand you creeps keeping score, killing people.
Relatable.
Yeah.
Forever annoyed by the nonsense.
And again, it's like, those were living things that you killed. Yeah, they were trying to kill you. Okay, fine. But also, like, could we not make it a game? That's so icky.
Really, think about all the clones that died as well, trying to fight
Yeah.
these things. Like,
Yeah.
let's not,
A lot. Yeah.
A lot.
I mean, like, in that moment where Obi-Wan's getting overwhelmed and he only has 8 clones around him. That's all. And then the reinforcements arrive. So yeah, like, the losses were great.
Did it occur to you, even after watching Andor, like Yularen?
Yes.
It's kind of ruining Yularen. It's sad, isn't it?
Sad, yeah. It
Yeah.
makes it really hard to watch it now.
Yeah.
I found it funny, though, that he would not help until Anakin, Darth Vader,
right?
told him to
Right?
help.
Right, though. He was hinging the whole thing on Anakin, and I'm not sure that's appropriate.
Yeah. Anakin says we're at the breaking point, and he's like, well, you're in luck.
I've been working this whole time to come save your ass.
Yeah.
Give me a raise later. Like, get out of here. But I do, like, love that. The idea that we have this general. Is he a general? Admiral. Yeah, obviously. He's a admiral. It's in his name. But they have this admiral who's gonna, like, basically turn his back on absolutely everyone that he's currently, like, oh.
Yeah.
Really unsettling. And he won't be the only one.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's really dark. I mean, even the clones, by the time, we're in Andor's period, the clones are, like, being killed off, basically, at that point.
Yeah.
They're mostly all gone, and it's all stormtroopers.
He's worked with them. I mean,
I know.
I just don't understand that mindset. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if it's brainwashing or survivalism or whatever the it was. It's dark.
It's dark. I would love to think it's survivalism. Like, he's an admiral, and it doesn't matter who he works for, and he's going to do it because otherwise they'll kill him. Like, maybe he has a family we don't know about. I don't know.
Yeah. He seemed, like, so severe, though, in Andor. He was so, like, ready to instigate those, new, I don't know if you can call them laws, but, the statutes that allowed them to just imprison people indefinitely and, like, triple their prison time. And
yeah.
It's pretty f***ed up.
That's crazy. Yeah, so watching more Star Wars media does reflect on me whenever I watch old Star Wars media, but not too much. It's there, though.
Even the smallest thing, like making that character in Andor, just deciding that will be Yularen, now reframes a lot of the scenes that he's in Clone Wars. It's unavoidable. So I just wish Star Wars would give that a little more thought before they start doing this shit all the time. But it's fine.
I know.
At least this one is not, like, the worst thing ever.
I also thought about the rocks falling, like the wall explodes and all the rocks fall down, and that's essentially what Vader does to imprison Obi-Wan in the last the last confrontation in the Kenobi series. There's rocks.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rocks going on, and I had that vision of, like, oh, look at Anakin pushing them away from Rex.
Yeah, he uses a different method later.
Yeah, different method.
You know what I kind of loved, even, like, the first time ever watching this, is that I started to realize Clone Wars was gonna, like, use genre to tell some stories. And this one was like a war story, but also they had, like, little elements of horror in there. And the next couple episodes have more, like, sci-fi horror.
Very true.
And it's really interesting. I mean, they had, like, the Blue Shadow virus is a great example of, like, a health pandemic type thriller. And I feel like there's got to be, like, a cowboy something. Don't you? Is there, like, one that, I mean, obviously now Tales of the Underworld, as we discussed last time. There's some cowboys.
I'm sure there is.
But,
I just can't. There's so many.
Yeah.
I don't know. There probably is.
And I don't feel like they kept that going. I think that they were just exploring in these early seasons. This is just season 2.
Yeah.
And I found it so
Yeah.
refreshing that they decided to use some horror elements very gently. It's a kid's show, but
Mm-hmm.
it really, I think, respects the audience because I'm sure they assumed it was going to be kids watching this, but it's so well done that it's really fun for adults to watch it too.
Yeah. And that's why the
Yeah.
show's brilliant. That's why we're all
Yes.
here.
And I really think that maybe the secret ingredient was George Lucas. He
Always.
produced Indiana Jones. Like, he
Right.
knows how to make a very satisfying blockbuster.
He
And these were
does.
so short, these 20 minutes, that he could, like, he really knew how to put a lot into a short period. And Dave Filoni said that Dave would, like, write all these ideas and George would just, like, X out all the stuff. He just was like, nope, nope, nope. And, like, really force them to focus.
I think maybe Dave could use some of that right now.
Yeah, I feel like the newer stuff is really missing that.
There's no harm in saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really, at least we have this to go back to.
We do. I mean, it's timeless. It
Yeah.
has given us the meat that we
Mhm.
needed from basically Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith and onward.
Yeah.
It filled so many gaps. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
I'm glad we have it.
Me too. And also, you get your scene with Anakin. Remember when he flips under the
Oh, I remember.
Deca droid or whatever? And
And it's right up the crotch. Happiness.
as
Yes.
soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, Leanne's favorite shot.
I was happy to rewatch that. It was very inappropriate. And I'm still here for it. Still here for it. I don't
See,
care if
this
he's
is why-
19.
This
He's
is
an
why
adult.
this works really well because you can, like, deep dive into it or just enjoy it for cheap beauty. And
Well, don't
I'm here for
forget the piece of blood, the scratch on
I
Obi-Wan's
know.
face is
It's
so
beautiful.
elegant. It really is.
Even his scratches are beautifully
well, on cheekbones like that, And James Arnold Taylor, it's so funny, like, knowing that that's him and knowing like what a great guy he is and how cool he is with us and
Yeah.
how friendly and kind he's been, and then there he is just being serious Obi-Wan. I love it. It's just cool.
I was thinking that too, actually, when rewatching, because even his first line when he says, I cannot believe we're back here again, it's like
Yeah.
right away they've already given Obi-Wan more depth, and James just, like, brings it to life so perfectly. And it's like, for me, in my opinion, it's like a jumping off point. And now, like, a few episodes later, you get the Duchess of Mandalore arc, and then after that you start to, like, Maul gets reintroduced, and it's just, his layers get more and more complex. And I'm so glad they did that with this character and that they had James to perform it. Anybody else, it might not have been quite the same.
I wanted to ask you if you had the same feeling I did. And I know we probably have talked about this, but don't you just love it when they're all back together, like everyone's at the meeting point with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's still sitting on the ground and
Yeah.
still mapping out how they're going to attack.
Yeah.
And like they're still counting on him to do this, and he's still doing it even though he's obviously injured. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. And I love when they're like, are you injured, General? And he's like, nothing too serious. It's like clearly just some internal bleeding and a crushed pelvis, but I'm fine. Just give me a little shot. I'll be fine.
Oh, I do love the shot in the neck. It's totally unnecessary, but it adds an element to it. Like,
It's cool. It's kind of like a morphine shot or something.
yeah. Drug him up.
Yep.
Right before he has to look at a map and tell you where to go.
He'll be fine. You can trust his advice, I promise.
Totally.
Yeah, I know. I've always liked that he's, like, clearly so injured he has to do the briefing sitting down, which he's never done. And
right,
then,
but he's still in it.
I know, all the
Still
way.
dedicated.
And the way he's sitting there, just, like, totally wasted and exhausted right before they, like, run up to him. They never show him like that ever.
That's true. It's
Yeah.
the very first time. Isn't it, like, totally rare to see blood up until this point?
In Star Wars, almost never do you see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I know now in the sequels they've shown it
Oh,
Like
sure,
when
but
Finn gets the bloody handprint, that was like,
oh yeah,
oh,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
gonna be like different Star Wars. But before that, there was almost no blood because lightsabers and blaster burns just cauterize wounds,
That's
so you
right.
don't have to bleed. But he got
Yeah.
crushed in an accident, like a car crash. So,
Oh.
well, not a car, but a landing craft
Yeah,
crash. That's really hard to say.
that is hard. Well, do you have any final thoughts?
I do want to mention one thing because it was so awesome, and it
Mm.
really stood out to me the very first time I ever
Ooh,
watched it.
ooh, I'm intrigued.
The sequence when Anakin and Ahsoka lead the attack at the very end, after Obi-Wan gives the briefing, Anakin
Oh
starts
yeah,
running, and they just show this extended sequence of them running through the desert
yeah,
all the way, and the camera doesn't, there's no cuts, and then the camera comes up behind them and follows them in at the very end. It's just so
hmm
cool. Like,
yeah. For
it's,
animation, that's pretty. That's pretty
yes,
good.
it's awesome.
What year was this now?
This one was 2009. I looked it up.
That's pretty. That's pretty good for two. I mean, that's pretty good for 2000. All
Yes.
of this is.
Honestly,
I know
just
it's not technically that long ago, but the technology has advanced so much.
yeah. It's
It
crazy.
is a cool shot.
And then they have more atmosphere, there's smoke, there, like you said, the
Mm-hmm.
contrails, all these
Mm-hmm.
little details they start to like really bring in. To me, this was a turning point for their animation and a turning point for character development. And that's why Landing at Point Rain has always been one of my favorite episodes. It's just
Same.
so well done.
It really is. And I know it's a lot of like fighting and battle and blah blah blah, but it's really well executed.
Yeah,
It
and
sets the stage for the next 3 episodes, which we're going to cover. Is it 3 episodes? Yeah, it's a
yes,
4-part.
yeah.
It's a
And
big one.
sometimes when it's all fighting, it's boring, but somehow because in the fighting, it's really about other stuff that's going on between Anakin, Ahsoka, and Rex, and
Mm-hmm.
Ki-Adi-Mundi is, well, I wouldn't give him that much depth, to be honest, but, and like stuff that's going on with Obi-Wan, especially at the landing point, like, there's a lot more going on than just bombs going off, and like you said, it lays the foundation for what comes next, and it's 20 minutes of of lots of fun. It's really just fun.
Yeah, and we get a lot of Cody and Rex too.
hmm Yeah, and
Season
like
2 Cody and Rex is
a little banter between Cody and
yeah.
Obi-Wan, and yeah,
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's got all the things. It's a really, really good episode and a really great jumping off point for so much more. Just
yeah,
like you said. I love
yeah.
it.
Can't wait for the next episode.
I know, me too. Our question to you for this episode is, if you could pick just one scene that you love from this episode, what is your favorite scene? It could be a line. It could be a whole moment. It could be a shot, a still shot. What is your favorite moment of the episode? Let us know, because we just told you all of ours. It's only fair.
And join us back here next time. We're going to do the next episode in this arc, which is Weapons Factory. So we're going to do some conversation about Barriss and Ahsoka, Leanne.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I'm ready. I'm
It's
good.
gonna be fun. There's actually some great creepy stuff that happens in this next episode, so I'm excited to talk about
There
it.
is.
So join us back next time for that.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the Most Things Kenobi podcast. If you would like to support the podcast by becoming a patron, head over to the Most Things Kenobi Patreon. We're actually revamping our 3 available tiers, and we'll have more info on that to come very soon. And we're offering new and exciting content, so we hope you'll join us. For those of you who are already subscribed, we appreciate every single one of you, and thank you for your support. You can always interact with us on our social media platforms, such as Tumblr, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast player. If you enjoy our podcast, feel free to rate us on Spotify and Apple. And if you need one place to find all of these, head over to mostthingskenobi.com.
So, until next time, my space twin, may the Force be with you.
Always.